we've got some solar activity rising in the northeast, as well as in the southeast, a new sunspot down there. That and lots more brought to you by the Smash News Network, least Busted Damon News. Let's blast through some more space weather. Next is our colorized magnetogram from the SDO. That area in the northeast, not yet a sunspot, but it's going to be a massive one, I would suspect. The area in the southeast is already a sunspot, and sunspot 2924 has continued to gain complexity here. Likelihood of solar flares very high. We've got a bit of a coronal hole shortage and lots more stuff to cover today, so let's blast through it. It's a blast looking at the southern hemisphere. Check it out. The size of that sunspot. It's got multiple umbrae that are larger than the Earth in diameter. Here's 304 angstroms. And look at the lack of helium to the north of this sunspot. Those dark areas there, that is an area where there is very little helium. The white areas are areas where there is lots of helium. 304 angstroms shows ionized helium. So at least one more sunspot group getting named today. It's going to be this one over here. 2926, I believe, will be the name of that. Although there are some intermediate ones to the north of those. 94 angstroms is one of the best wavelengths to see solar flares. I have a feeling this is going to be relevant very soon. So massive, spectacular solar uptick. The radio flux last I checked was at 107 solar flux units. So that's actually in need of refreshment there at solon.info. There you go, 107 solar flux units as reported by the Space Weather Enthusiast dashboard. And they are expecting some geomagnetic unrest. We saw some coronal mass ejection strikes also, as we forecasted. Yeah, not only did we note the coronal mass ejections, we forecasted them and noted the fact that they're going to be arriving at Earth. They did. It was pretty weak. Let's look at earthquakes next. The largest quake of the past 24 was a 6.6 south of the Gobi Desert and east of the Tibetan Plateau in Chad. Probably caused quite a bit of damage. That one came in at 1745 yesterday on the 7th of January. So a bunch of aftershocks there as well. Some activity on the west coast of the U.S. A decent-sized quake near the Alaska-Canadian border. Chile saw a decent-sized quake there at a 5.9 magnitude. Near the coast, it looks like. New Zealand had a 5.1 to its north. Indonesia had a 5.3, and the Philippines had a 5.0 magnitude quake. Massive volcanic uptick, folks. Check it out. Lots of volcanoes now back on the list here. Fagradalsfjall is not expected to erupt again. So, located in the nation of Iceland, models indicate that the magma is likely to solidify in magma tubes and likely not erupt. We figured we'd cover it anyway. Subanose Jima exploded. Produced an 8,000-foot plume of volcanic ash. Mount Merapi, located on the Isle of Central Java, Indonesia. Some glowing lava blocks and one large rockfall event occurred. About a 6,000-foot ash plume there. The Wolf Volcano, an effusive eruption happened there, starting just yesterday. That's located in the Galapagos Islands. A new fissure has opened in the Galapagos Islands, so that's interesting. Fuego exploding. 16,000-foot ash plume over Guatemala. Nevado del Ruiz, volcanic ash not seen in satellite. Don't assume it's not erupting. Sangay exploding. 20,000-foot ash plume over Ecuador from Sangay. 16,000-foot ash plume as Revenador explodes. That's also located in Ecuador. Sabancaya unable to detect. Don't assume it's not erupting. Nevados de Chilean exploding. 12,000-foot ash plume from Nevados de Chilean. Erta Ale, located in Ethiopia, went through some morphological changes before the current eruption started. The south crater located in the central part of the caldera is occupied by the lava lake that has undergone some changes. The intense activity of the lake was accompanied by rapid movements of the lava from the north to the south and small lava fountains about 1 meter tall. Nyiragongo, located in the nation of Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo. Somebody did an aerial flight, and lava continues to fill the lava lake there, so perhaps another eruption fixing to happen at Nyiragongo. And for some reason, these Twitter videos don't like to go full screen for whatever reason. Great imagery here of the caldera. Please don't pole vault the caldera. It could prove unhealthful. Next, Piton de la Fournaise, located on the island of Réunion. Some lava overflow happening there, coming down the slope. Also some ground deformation happening at Piton de la Fournaise. Please don't pole vault the caldera. Please do support the channel. Welcome to the Neo-Renaissance. Congratulations on realizing that the channel exists. You can visit our homepage at smAsho.com to find all kinds of links to our forum, as well as to the Smash team. Thanks to everybody who's been supporting us there. We replaced Patreon with something vastly superior, the Smash team. Here's a teaser at smashomash.com/smash team. The latest posts. Here are the latest headlines. We can't show you the post because it's for paid subscribers only, so join at the gold or silver level. Thanks to our gold, silver, and gold annual paid-up subscribers. It's magnetic. Like this data from the GOES 16 and 17. A bit of a divergence happening here in the readings from the GOES 16 and 17. Much higher readings there at the GOES 16 than the GOES 17 on the magnetometer. Next, the heliospheric current sheet. And don't be surprised to see a North Pole current sheet make itself visible by tomorrow once again. There's the latest image. This data, by the way, is derived from ground-based magnetometers. 51 of them. Located right here on Earth. Also magnetometers on stereo B here at Lagrange point 4 and stereo A here at Lagrange point 5. Some of the most important data is that. The Gong 2 data, part of the National Sunspot Observatory. Here's the line of sight view. You can see a bunch of sunspots rotating in once again. A bit of a coronal hole shortage continues, folks. Don't be surprised to see a sudden uptick in coronal holes. We forecasted it a couple months ago, and it indeed came true. What a surprise. It was basically just a statistical analysis. Coronal holes, super important in monitoring the progression of solar cycles. Next, the 193 angstroms view. None of these South Pole coronal hole systems are transequatorial. Transequatorial are the most geo-effective type of coronal holes because they tend to send high-speed solar wind right to Earth. These are a little bit underperforming, and let's move to sunspots. So 2924, continuing to spread apart here. I believe it's going to produce some flares soon. And here's a close-up. The reason I say that is because we tend to have plasma suspended out in giant magnetic loops between these umbrae. And they seem to collapse when the umbrae get far enough apart. Sunspot umbrae have a tendency to cancel each other out when they merge. I think that's been increasing the likelihood of solar flares there. Not a huge change in sunspot 2924 in the past 24 hours. Quite likely to produce significant flares. So here's the flare monitor, and you can see the flare monitor showing up here over 50%, more likely than not to see additional flares. We've only seen C-class intensifications in the past 24. And there is the X-ray flux over the past 3 days. You can see this one was a decent-sized C flare. Peak flux of that was at 2210 yesterday on the 7th. No relativistic particles have arrived. If we see a flare, it'll be more likely to see some. Let's take a look at the coronal mass ejections that have struck. And you can see these blips. This is probably just one coronal mass ejection showing up in multiple pulses. You can see this change in the plasma temperature happening and then returning to a background signal and then another change in plasma temperature. Those look like real signals, folks. That's another one of the 3 coronal mass ejections. We can expect one more tomorrow as we had 3 in succession, all of which were forecasted by the channel. Also, it looks like there's a coronal hole wind stream arriving, as we've seen an uptick in the solar wind density here to 21 protons per cubic centimeter. Look at how slow the solar wind speed is, below 300 kilometers per second. We can expect to see this come up as the solar wind density comes down. So that's the typical characteristic thing that we see for coronal hole wind streams, folks. We see an increase in the density, and then a decrease in the density and an increase in the velocity from the high-speed coronal hole wind stream. KP index has been at 0 for most of the past 3 days. The KP index is a measurement of global geomagnetism. And here's the Earth geospace out to about 12 Earth diameters over the past 4 hours. If you want to read more about the geospace magnetosphere movies, go to the geospace magnetosphere movies page, click on details, and you can read all about the space weather modeling framework, the data and variables used in order to create this model. Next, ground magnetic perturbations, Earth's magnetic moment from the ground. Over the past 4 hours, it refreshed. We're going to let it play through. We don't edit the videos. So only minor changes to Earth's B field. The units here are nanotesla, magnetic flux density, and it's showing geospace delta B changes to Earth's B field. Continuing on, we're going to do a solar system forecast. Here's where stuff is now. Earth and Venus very close to an inferior conjunction, I believe it's called, when Venus is right between the Sun and Earth. There's where things will be in a week on the 15th, approaching another full moon. We'll have a gibbous waxing. If you're up before dawn, you might see Mars rising ahead of the Sun. This star chart created custom for our location here in Lehigh Valley, the location of smAsho staff and I. Shout out to all of our viewers from all around the world. We consider these videos to be a collaborative effort. Leave us a comment if you haven't done so, and don't forget to tell your friends and foes about the channel. Next, coronal mass ejection watch. And we've reduced the warning to a watch. Don't be surprised to see it go back suddenly to a warning. Just a watch in effect right now. So looking at the left here, this is stereo A's coronagraph, located here at Lagrange point 5. On the right, the LASCO SOHO C3 coronagraph, located here at Lagrange point 1, between the Earth and Sun. Also a great view of Venus there. You can see it just approaching the conjunction there, right in the Earth-Sun line. Today's cosmology segment's a separate video. It'll premiere after the daily space weather, so make sure you check that out. Also, there are hundreds of cosmology segments on our cosmology segments playlist, youtube.com/smashamash/playlists. Over 230 videos in our cosmology segments. Next, looking at charging hazards and electron flux and the ionosphere. And we don't see any charging hazards at the moment. There's your CSERT map. There's the 1-year chart from Solon.info of the relativistic electrons. Here's a 3-day chart as measured by the GOES 16 and 17. And the GOES 16 has just moved into warning territory here while we make the video. Here's the forecast model. And I would tend to think that tomorrow is going to be a bit lower since we're seeing the arrival of a coronal hole wind stream. Next, the total electron content forecast. The coupled thermosphere-ionosphere electron content. This will show you the most likely locations for GPS errors. And we are seeing some anomalous GPS errors happening here, especially in the Southern Ocean. Also some over North America. I'll let that play through a second time there. The total electron content forecast. So a little chaos happening once again here, associated with the arrival of the density wave portion of the coronal hole wind stream. Next, we'll show you the ionosphere, one slice of it, the F layer. In many ways, considered the bridge between Earth and space. Here's the vibrational frequency going on at about 300 kilometers of altitude. The data is courtesy Australian Government Bureau Meteorology. And it's showing vibrational frequency, each color blob representing 1 megahertz, 1 million vibrations per second. We're seeing some major anomalies once again here. If you're not familiar with it, that's okay. We'll show you the anomalygram, showing anomaly in megahertz from the 30-day median. So lots of anomalies here around the equator, Central Africa, as well as the Drake Passage once again showing up with low-frequency anomalies. Some wild shifts down here by Antarctica also, shifting from high to low frequency quite quickly there. And some major low-frequency anomalies in the Central Pacific. Latest image here is from 1330 Universal Time. There's the ionogram, there's the anomalygram, and let's do bonus of features. Bonus feature number 1 is the Cerro Tololo, Chile, ground-based solar observatory. Great imagery there in hydrogen alpha, 6,562.8 angstroms. New sunspot has just risen over here, and a new one's about to rise over here. Expect the sunspot number to rise precipitously along with the radio flux. Your grand solar minimum has been canceled. Here's the GOES 16 SUVI imagery in 304 angstroms. Just spectacular imagery, and we've got a prominence that we captured right here. This may cause us to change the coronal mass ejection watch to a warning. That'll be for another video if need be, and members of the SMASH team will know about it only seconds to minutes after we do. So there you can see one prominence happening there south of that new sunspot group. Let's take a look at the latest intensitygram and latest magnetogram in high resolution. Sunspot 2924, certainly capable of producing major flares. 2925 less so. It's looking like an alpha class sunspot. Here's this new sunspot rising here in the southeast. And do we see a sunspot up here in the northeast yet? Certainly not. Here are the magnetic fields. There's 2924, another spectacularly huge sunspot with spectacularly complex fields. That one's showing up as an alpha class so far. Don't be surprised if there is an opposite polarity umbra trailing it. Here are the fields of this other active region. Look at how huge that magnetic field area is. Most likely a sunspot if I had to guess. We'll close out with the full disk views in 171 and 304 angstroms. And we'll thank you, the viewer. There would be no reason to make the videos without people to watch. So thanks for tuning in, and may that solar wind be at your back. Opinions expressed in this video, not necessarily the opinions of Smash News Network, least busted. Name and news.